Hi, hello. Thanks for joining me on my first episode for Healthy Safe Space. And I actually have recorded a different episode for a different audio for this episode one, but let's just say the need to be perfect made me not upload it. So maybe I will do that later on, but I changed my mind on the topic, and so today we're going to be talking about finance. And this is one topic I'm very passionate about lately because I have been intentional about financial discipline and growing my income and planning my finance right? So today I'm going to be dedicating this episode to that person out there who probably is not earning so much and they're feeling overwhelmed by how they're not earning enough to get by, and they feel like they are not taking their life so seriously and all that. I want to tell you that you're not alone. I might not be in the same space as you are currently, but I have been there, and it wasn't easy getting out. But at the end of the day, once you set your mind to do things right, it's going to change with time. So, um, today's session is directed at planning, planning, budgeting. Now, a lot of persons probably have heard this. Um, always have plans for the money that you're going to be receiving. Don't wait till the money comes. This, that, and that, and that. Now, there's something I would always recommend you do before you start budgeting, and that is tracking your daily expenses. So, you probably have certain responsibilities you have to take care of monthly. You maybe have to buy data. If you work or you're self employed, you need to take care of your health. If you're the firstborn or you have siblings or your parents are your responsibility, then you probably are sending money at the end of the month or even emergency funds when certain things occur. Now, you need to keep track of how much you're spending. Now, the reason why I say you should keep track is this: you cannot have a perfect or close to perfect budget if you don't have an idea of where your money is going. Now, a lot of persons just spend money at the end of the day. You feel like you receive so much, but you don't know where the money is going to. The truth is that you do not have an idea of where your money is going to, and you need that in order for you to become disciplined financially as well as plan better. So you can also be able to determine, okay, where and how much you need to, or how high you need to go, or how much effort you need to do to maybe change your income, right? So you have that. I'm not saying that you have to actually know how much you're spending before you change your income. Everybody wants to earn big. Yeah, if you're probably earning $500 a month, you probably want to be earning, you would love to get like $2,000 a month and the likes. So before you start getting money, because I always say, if you're not managing your money well when you have $100, you will not manage it better when you have 1,000 or a million, right? And the money can easily disappear when you have something like a huge chunk just dropping. And the funny thing is that you might actually have received that which you're looking for, but because it's coming in bits, you have not made proper plan for it. So now this is my advice. At the end of every month or a weekly or daily basis, take note of how much you spent, right? I would recommend you do this exercise for a month, 2 months, 3 months, depending on your earning bracket. If your income is quite low, I recommend you do it for a month, right? So you have an idea before your next income comes, you have an idea of how much money left your account, the reason why it left your account, what is frequent, what you have to do frequently, maybe on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis, and get that sorted. Now, when you do this, it's easier for you to plan ahead. Now, when I started budgeting, I started budgeting and I was only focusing on my transportation and feeding because I was working on site then. Then I was trying to save, but I wasn't doing budgeting right because I was just only focused on my transportation and feeding in the office. I did not calculate the money I had to send to some of my siblings, to maybe support my mom. I didn't calculate all that. I didn't even consider the airtime data. Yes, then friends were supporting me because I was really earning low. Um, the fact my salary was consuming half of my transportation was consuming half of my salary, right? So it was that crazy. Now, you see, I said I wasn't doing budgeting right because I was only focused on one key item, which is not a bad thing because it is the major cost of me earning. That's the major cost of me doing the job, which is transportation. I need to get to the office to be able to check in and get to work. I need to get lunch so that I have the energy throughout the day to work. So we had that. Now, it took certain things to happen before I started taking my finances seriously. Yes, I was once in that bracket of taking loans and using income loan to pay loan, or um, I take loan, I pay the loan so that I take another loan. And yeah, that's not a healthy habit. If you're in that circumstances, I would recommend that you actually need to start finding out what you're spending money on and cut down on some expenses. Now, when you track your expenses, you would realize that there are certain things you do not have to get at your current earning bracket. And that is one thing a lot of persons find hard to do. Yes, we are in the era of classism and a lot of persons want to impress this, but let me tell you, the person you're trying to impress is not going to feel the heat of you being broke. You are the one who's going to have to carry that burden of being broke. So instead of trying to impress somebody by what you don't have, why not invest or focus on areas that would affect your bank account and impress the person with the quality of knowledge you have, the quality of skills. Over time, you'll be able to build your income to the point where not just your skills will be talking, but the money in your account will also be talking. Yeah, some persons will say you have to fake it till you make it. There are a lot of persons who are faking it and their lives are miserable because of finance, right? Because they were spending so much on irrelevant things to impress the people who didn't even give a rat's ass about them. So you have to be very, very um, intentional about finding out where you spend your income, right? And find a way to cut it down. Now, when I was still working in that job, I could count the number of times I made my hair in a year because it was that low at that point. But when I changed jobs, I was not able to afford certain things. And now I am at the stage where I even bulk buy stuff. I bulk buy my deodorants and sanitary papers, some of my spices and foodstuffs that I could keep for a very long while. And I even buy certain perishables. and I have researched hacks on how to preserve them for a longer period of time, because I discovered that it's cheaper to bulk buy and bulk cook than having to cook weekly or eat out instead of cooking, right? So with that, I've been able to cut down a lot on my expenses. I have a fixed budget for support. I have a fixed budget. I have an idea of how much I spend on data in a month. Now, because of how I've been able to analyze my monthly and daily expenses, I've been able to allocate money, and my goal now is building my income to the point that I move some certain expenses from a monthly thing to a yearly thing, which will save me more money. For example, there was a time I was doing 500 naira subscription. Then I moved to doing 2000 naira for 10 gig thereabout. I think it was more before data prices went up. 10 gig for 7 days, and I discovered that doing that 2000 naira for seven gig 2000 naira for 10 gig for 7 days, I usually do that, redo the subscription for, like, let's say 10 to a couple of times. I think when I totaled the cash I spent a month, it was going to 20,000 to 24,000, depending on the demand, my work demand for that month. So I did a bit of calculation, like, if I'm spending so amount, and this 24 gigs, 24,000, sometimes I exceed it, because the reason I put a cap at 24,000 is because probably I end my income comes in before the last day of the month, so I'm able to renew. So I don't calculate certain things when the income comes in. But when I analyze, for me to have a full month subscription, I will be spending close to 30,000 naira a month. So what did I do? I decided to go through my provider and see options, and I started with the 20,000 naira for 100 and something gig. Now I share my data subscription with my mom, so she has access to internet. She doesn't have to worry about having to get data for her phone. Now that saves me money from sending her money for data, because I know she's not a heavy consumer, right? And because of that, I think the first one I tried it, the workload was a bit on the high side, not too high. So I decided to upgrade to the 25,000 naira 136 gig a month. And I discovered that after doing this for 2 months, I did a review on my subscription expenses and started comparing, okay, why don't I strive to move to the yearly plan? Because I discovered if I was doing 25,000 naira for 12 months, that was about 300,000 naira. But there is a plan of 150,000 naira, which is half the price, for almost the same amount of data. So I'm like, I can work towards increasing my income so I can bulk buy my data for a year rather than having to buy it on a monthly basis, saving me more money. And that also applies to my HMOs. You get a discount for subscribing for a longer duration as opposed to doing it monthly. We have subscription plans for, like, let's say CapCut, Canva. It's cheaper to do a year than doing a monthly subscription, because they give you discounts when you're subscribing for a year. So with that, I have been, if I wasn't able to plan how much I spend, the important things that were priority, I would not be able to allocate certain funds to cover certain needs. And with that, I would not have an idea of, oh, okay, this is how much I need to make, right, to ensure that I am doing better than I am currently am. So I have an idea of numbers in my head. So when I'm going out to search for jobs, I can, even with this number, I know, okay, this is the minimum I'm supposed to be looking at based on my current experience, my current earning, and where I'm looking to see myself, right? So I hope this episode helps anybody who has been racking their brain about finance, budgeting, and everything. The advice is to track your expenses so that you can be able to create a realistic budget and be able to plan your life better. So I hope this helps you, and I see you in the next episode. Bye.